Hey guys, welcome to week 3 of Midwest Fantasy Football League. This week's top scorer was Justin Tucker Must Die, myself, taking down I Want Some Butts, Lee, 145.2 to 97.6. This week, my team was led by Matt Ryan, who I scooped up off of the waiver wire this week. He shined in the New Orleans-Atlanta overtime game, putting up 43.16 points. Additionally, I got 25.7 points from Mike Evans. Lee went very heavy on the NFC North players this week, starting Aaron Rodgers for 20 points, 17.5 points from Adam Thielen, and 14.7 points from Davante Adams. Unfortunately for Lee, he probably should have been looking outside the division. The 96 points that were on his bench were scored by Adrian Peterson, Robert Woods, and Calvin Ridley. Would have been enough to swing this matchup had he opted to start 2 out of 3 of those guys over any of his starters. This is my second high-scoring week so far this season, and my 15th all-time. In this week's biggest blowout, I win because y'all drafted Josh, knocked out I'm Ready to Pump, Pulp 1.0, 136.25 to 81, a whopping 55-point margin. As it turns out, the other quarterback in the Atlanta-New Orleans matchup had a pretty good day as well. Drew Brees put up 43.5 points to lead Josh's team in scoring this week. Josh opted for the right quarterback in this matchup, opting for Brees over Cam Newton, who put up a respectable 29.6 points on his bench. Josh definitely knew this week that Seattle's running backs was going to eat into Dallas's defense. He wasn't sure which one, though, so he decided to start both. The combination of Chris Carson and Rashad Penny worked out for him, as Carson's 22.5 points offset Rashad Penny's 1/2 of a point. It probably would have been nice to get Isaiah Crowell's 18 points off the bench, as it would have pushed you over the top for the high score. But, it worked out for you, so who am I to complain? What's that expression? If it ain't broke, don't fix it?
If it ain't broke, you're not trying.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. It's worth noting that Josh is still rolling with his original draft, being the only member of the league so far who has not made any waiver wire moves. It's working for him. He's sitting in second place, undefeated. For Pope 1.0, Carlos Hyde led the team with 23.5 points. Hyde seems like he's going to be one of the players who really benefits from the switch from Tyrod Taylor over to Baker Mayfield. Unfortunately, you were really hurt by your wide receiver combo of Stefon Diggs and Keenan Allen, who each put up less than 4 points. This is the last week of Mark Ingram's suspension. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to help you much at wide receiver. In this week's closest game, Alex's Funkle Up squad defeated Jason's The Hammock District 116.2 to 115.08, a mere 1.18 points. With a half PPR league, this game swung on the last Steelers drive on Monday Night Football when Big Ben found Alex's Juju Smith-Schuster open for 18 yards with 2:31 left in the fourth quarter on the second-to-last non-kneel-down play, waiting to the very last minute for that last 2.3 points he needed to get the win. Jason, you can probably just write this one off as a wedding present for Alex. He's getting married this weekend.
Do you, Anna, take Christoph to be your trollfully wedded...
Wait, what?
You're getting married.
Hey Alex, speaking of terrible decisions, opting to bench Jarvis Landry's 16.7 points this weekend in favor of Golden Tate's 9.9 points, it didn't cost you the game, but it certainly made it a lot closer than it had to be. As for Jason, well, he had his optimal lineup in, so his team gave 100% this week, but just came up just a little bit short. His squad was led by Jared Goff's 28.5 points, Saquon Barkley's 20.2 points, and Emmanuel Sanders' 15.8 points. Unfortunately for you, Devontae Freeman's injury, meaning that you needed to slot Chris Carson in at running back. Editor's note, I meant Chris Thompson, not Chris Carson. Sorry. And his 2.2 points in the win over Green Bay left you just a little bit short of the win. With the loss, Jason unfortunately dropped his first game of the season. He's no longer undefeated, leaving only Josh and Drew undefeated. Speaking of Drew, in other games this week, Undercooked Burger Drew stays undefeated, taking down Derek's Girlie's Gone Wild 97.25 to 89. Big Ben, the Burger Man himself, led Drew's squad to victory, putting up 27 points on Monday Night Football. Christian McCaffrey added an additional 23.5 points. You were able to grab the win despite having several holes in your starting lineup, getting only 0.9 points from Will Dissly and 2.5 points from Amari Cooper. For Derek, Todd Gurley's 25.1 points may have kept close pace with Drew's top scorer, but Matthew Stafford scoring 10 points less than Big Ben, and your wide receivers putting up 7 points less than Drew's wide receivers offset any of the gains that you got from Gurley. I wanted to get a clip in here, so I went to YouTube and I typed in The Burger Man. This is what I found. If this starts driving you nuts, you skip forward a minute and a half in the video. It was so awesome, I had to link the whole thing.
Burger Man, skating all across the land, sharing your burger dreams with everyone. With your pickle and your cheese, oh, you always aim to please. You've got super secret sauce and a fluffy bun. Rolling on through the night, yeah, you skate towards the light, and you do it all for the children. Spreading joy to the needy with your mustard and your sesame seeds. We know you do it all for the children. Yeah!
Yeah! It's the skateboarding Burger Man, bringing joy and happiness to people all around the world. Burger Man, skating all across the land, sharing your burger dreams with everyone. Burger Man.
I had to have the whole thing. It was just that awesome. I couldn't figure out where to cut from it. The internet is a strange and magical place. The Duchess of T. Bjork, Nick, defeated Brandon's once-in-a-generational squad, 116 to 112. For Nick, his squad was led again by the monster of Michael Thomas, whose 21 points came on 10 receptions, no touchdowns. This is the third straight week that he's had at least 10 catches, and I don't expect that to slow down anytime soon. You got a really nice team effort here from your whole squad, as you had everybody else on your team, except for 2 players, scored between 10 and 20 points. For Brandon, it's another week, and it's another team-leading performance from Patrick Mahomes, this week putting up 28.25 points. You also had a great team week, but unfortunately 3 players on your squad scored less than 10 points compared to Nick's 2. Opting for Corey Davis in your flex spot over Devin Funchess or Geronimo Allison cost you about 10 points either way, which would have been enough to swing this matchup. Finally, Chris's brown-eyed monster took down Pope 2.0's Drunk Choir Boys 106.25 to 100.5. Chris got a big week from Alvin Kamara, who put up 27.1 points in the New Orleans-Atlanta overtime shootout, and between 14 and 15 points from the trio of the Bears defense, Antonio Brown, and David Johnson. For Pope 2.0, the 28 points that Deshaun Watson scored was the top individual performer in this matchup, but the goose egg that you got from Minnesota's brand spanking new kicker of Dan Bailey, well, that's going to hurt you. That's back-to-back weeks, in fact, with zeros from your kicker after Greg Zuerlein's injury last week. Can you make sure to let me know who you're going to start at kicker this week so I can make sure not to have that guy in any of my other leagues? Thanks. There were no new wagers this week. In terms of this week's waiver wire, Tyler Boyd was the top ad this week with 4 different players bidding for his services. Chris's $12 bid was just enough to outbid Drew's $11. Brandon and Scotty B were also in on Boyd as well. Additionally, Chris Ivory got multiple bids.
What year is it?
With Lee's $4 bid outbidding Brandon's $0 claim. Other notable players grabbed this week. Derek decided to grab Baker Mayfield for $7 and Greg Olsen for $3, while Pope 1.0 snagged Chris Goodwin for $4 and the Chargers defense for $3. Nick was too busy for stats this week, so I don't have anything there this week. I thought about trying to end the video with something cute or something funny, and I'm just going to end it now because I'm trying to kind of pay attention to a fantasy hockey draft as well, and I really have no idea what the hell's going on there. If you have any advice in fantasy hockey, shoot it my way. I'd love to hear it. The draft is a slow draft. The draft's going to take a couple days, so depending on when you watch this, you may still have relevant information. Go ahead and shoot it my way. I'd love to have it. And then I'm going to end with Go Brewers, currently beating the Cardinals, and we'll see you next week.